Hi and welcome to another Making Comics video. Today I'm going to be talking about coloring the comic and finishing it up, doing the finishing touches. Hi, my name is Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist in the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 25 years now, and I'm here to empower you. So finally getting to the final stages of the comic. This is a compressed version of the amount of work that I put in. The original uncompressed version, the amount of time it took me to do this, according to my editing tool, is 22 hours. So the penciling process took 10 hours, the flatting and lighting took 3 hours, and this part of the process took 22 hours. You'll see why it took so long. In part, it's because I needed to color the characters. I need to find out what the base colors of each character was going to be. And the other was trying to figure out what to color the environment. But I'll get to that when in the video. So let's get started. All right, now it's the moment of truth. It's time to start coloring everybody. And all the characters that I had previously colored, I already have colors, but these characters right here, like her, I don't have any colors for. So what I did was I stole the colors from a different drawing that I had done of them. I had already worked out their colors, and I started to use those colors. So notice that if in the reference I have 3 colors for everything. So I have the base color of what their local color, and then I have their shadow color and their light color. So the reason I do that is so that when I put in the base color, quote unquote base color, it's not really a flat local color. It actually is a gradient. So each character has a slight gradient on everything that they're wearing, so it's not all just one flat color. This is going to be a little bit trickier to do when I do the next one, because I'm not going to have all the characters have a separate all their body parts separated, so it's going to be done manually, and that's going to be a lot tricky. But my hope is that it's going to be more interesting and more fun for me. So here is each tiny little character that has to be colored in very slowly. And I think some of these characters, like her, didn't have any color, so I'm doing the color chart of each character as I need to. I don't know if that was the best way to do it, but that's the way I did it, and that's probably the reason why it took me 22 hours. To color this, and actually, this right here, this part is the reason why it took me 22 hours. Trying to figure out what the blazes to color this background. Notice how many versions of the background there is. There's purple and teal and reds and oranges and greens, and I'm adjusting the slider around just to try to get something. What I ended up with was something around the Payne's gray. That's that's the background color that I ended up with. It's like a kind of a Payne's gray kind of a color, and I thought that it worked really well. So yeah, the background hands down was the hardest thing to do in this, trying to figure out the colors for it. Here I am. I actually found a way to put textures on the floor that had like these little tiles. I made these tiles, and they worked really well. Now here's another part that was a bit of a struggle, and was trying to figure out some kind of symbol or something to put down on the floor here, as if it was like some kind of marble thing right here in the bottom. And I thought that it ended up working pretty well. But there was a lot of textures in this background, and I ended up creating this, and I made it a symbol so I could just grab it and drag it in. That's going to help me in the future anytime I have to draw this background again. And here it was the final part of the background struggle, which was coming up with colors for these rooms. Each character was coming from a different world and from a different room in that world, and so the rooms needed to have a different color for each person that they were coming in from. And once I figured out what the background was going to be and what colors to use for the background, The rest was much, much easier to do. It was a lot more straightforward, and things went a lot faster. Now, if you're paying very, very close attention, the initial shadow colors that I have here are more reddish. But as I went through the process, I realized that these red shadows, they weren't working. I needed to basically make all the shadows bluer. So you'll see me take these red shadows and put blue shadows in their place so that it felt right. The shadows being a little bit more reflection of the Payne's gray that the environment they're in is. And I thought that it matched better the environment, and there here I am putting in the tiles and that thing, that circle thing that I made a special tile for. That was exactly for this reason. That's the reason I made that tile. And in order to put all the tiles on the floor here, that's the other reason why I actually made a special tile so that I could just drag and drop the tile on the floor for. Making some slight adjustments here because the pillars aren't quite standing out, and they weren't quite masked or flatted very well. So there was a few little hiccups there, but otherwise this whole coloring process was one of the funnest parts of the process. Just getting everybody to really look like what they were. But it took days and days and days of doing this. Like I said, this was the longest part of the process. 22 hours of coloring this. There was way too many panels, hands down, too many panels. From now on, I'm trying to reduce the amount of panels so that I don't have to do this sort of thing again. Not with this much. And there was and another part of the reason why it took so long is look how many characters there are in each panel, and I had to color each one, and it took quite some time to do, and the file was getting larger and larger and larger. And any single time that the program needed to save or autosave, it would just pause for so long. This file just got enormous. It ended up being 2 gigs large. It's just so much. It's part of the problem was of all these textures. Like you could see that there was textures in the background and things like that. And part of the problem was that I was duplicating the backgrounds, like in this particular area where I had a lot of the same as backgrounds, and I just dragged the background that I already had. What I didn't do is I didn't flatten out the background, so I had layers and layers and layers that I was dragging in and putting in the replacing that background with, and it took forever. So anytime it goes to black, when you see it go to black, that's when my computer would almost the screen would go to black as it saved, because it was taking so much power to actually save this. And a few times you actually see like a really quick flash of the screen going. The program's not responding, and that's because it was trying to save. It was just an enormous file. This file was just too much. But here we are putting more tiles, the floor tiles in, and the floor tile thing really worked. I'm really happy with the way that the tiles came out, and by far this, hands down, the easiest part of the process, because I didn't have to worry about the background. And because of that, I also know that this video is coming to an end, because I've finally gotten to the last two things. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel when I got to coloring these 2 final panels. So Okay, so that's it. That is my 8 months worth of working on this comic. Thank you for watching. We'll see what happens in the next one. Hopefully it's going to be a lot shorter and I have a different process. I'll see you next time.